Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. The very first thing I want to do is to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. So I'll very briefly run through how this is going to work this evening. If there are any fumbles or missteps, I take total and complete responsibility for that. This is my first town hall, and I apologize in advance for any missteps that there might be. So I'll start out by speaking for a few minutes. There's a sheet that you could pick up at the back of the room with Chris Weinbrenner, who's our communications over back there. And this list goes through some District 1 specific items that we've accomplished within the first 100 days and beyond. And then on the back, there are some future goals and some other things in general across the county as a whole that we've accomplished or are looking to do. We have a couple of very special guests with us this evening, including Sheriff DeWeese, State's Attorney Shoemaker, and two school board members, Battaglia and Whistler, and I'll ask all of them to say a few things as well. I know that our mayor from Taneytown is here tonight. Is there anybody else I've missed who's an elected official who's here tonight? And Mayor, if you'd like to say some things this evening, you're more than welcome to, and if not, that's okay too. And then after that, we will open it up to the floor. We're very happy to take questions or just to hear your opinion on things, or even if you just want to tell us about some kind of upcoming community event or something that we should consider, you're welcome to do that as well. When you do get up, I ask that you speak into the microphone here at the center. Please know that this program is being recorded. Identify who you are and where you live. You don't have to be in District 1 to speak tonight. Everybody is welcome to speak this evening. If you do have a question, we will do our best to answer it. And if we aren't able to readily do so, we'll take your name and information, and we will get back to you as soon as humanly possible with the answer. Now, on the other hand, if you don't feel comfortable getting up and speaking, don't worry about that either. You can talk to us afterwards, and I'll point out Chris again, who has a sheet at the back of the room with ways to contact each one of us. At the very end, I will run through a couple of events and other things at the back table that you'll want to pick up on your way out. And also through the course of the evening, the Psych Council from the Taneytown Senior Center is selling Easter baskets over here to benefit the Senior Center. So if you're looking for a good snack, that's a good way to deal with it. So if there are no questions before that, I'll begin. So if you turn to the commissioner sheet that was handed out at the back of the room, I'll run through a couple of really interesting things that we've accomplished or we are looking forward to doing over the first 100 days. These are all things that are District 1 specific to us. And so that means that affects Taneytown, Union Bridge, New Windsor, and all the areas in between and beyond, everywhere from Pleasant Valley over to Kemar. So over the last couple of weeks, one of the things that we've been discussing is the Department of Transportation priority letter. It's a consolidated transportation priority letter, and what that does is that helps identify critical projects that are going on in the county that we want to bring to the attention of the state. So what's come out of that is that New Windsor has a streetscape project that's ongoing, and that project is going to remain on the letter. Union Bridge had offered up a suggestion about Main Street, but because that did not meet certain requirements under highway needs inventory, that is something we're looking into ourselves as a county at this point to study to see whether or not that's feasible. That is their Main Street, and whether or not a 0.6 of a mile that they want us to take over is going to be feasible or not. The Taneytown bypass, I know a lot of you are interested in that. The Taneytown bypass, for the first time in 10 years, is back on that letter. The Board of County Commissioners voted unanimously to put that back on the letter, and we've also agreed to write a letter of support for that, to submit that to the Highway Needs Inventory to make sure that we can move that project up on the priority section of the letter itself. Charles Carroll Community Center is nearing completion. The ribbon-cutting ceremony and the open house are going to be announced very soon. It'll be this spring, but we don't have the exact date on that yet. Elsewhere, Pinch Valley Road, we've decided to move ahead with closing that road because of the ongoing airport expansion. That'll happen in at minimum 3 years, but before that does happen, we are conducting a number of studies to find alternative routes so that people who use that area for travel or those that live in the area are going to have other ways to get around, or if we can target places to improve and we have the ability to improve those roads, we'll go ahead and take care of that. So among the many things that I have undertaken in my time so far as a commissioner is to tour different county facilities, departments, allied and partner agencies such as the state's attorney and the sheriff's department to get a better sense of what they do and how they do that in ways that we can work together with them to advance common causes of the citizens of our county. Out in Union Mills, at the Union Mills Complex, which is the second most visited tourist site in the county, we've begun a repaving effort for their driveway and the road that goes into the complex. Northwest Regional Park, which is a park that's going to be up on 194 as you head toward Littlestown on the right-hand side. We are in the process with that. There are going to be some meetings coming up so that citizens can have input into the things that they want to see there. But the way that we're looking at this is that we want it to be a more naturally oriented park, hiking trails, campgrounds, that kind of thing. And this move toward a more natural park is not only important because this area is uniquely situated for that with the amount of agricultural preservation that we do have and the natural resources that we do have up here, but the fact that this is a rare park for the county up in this section of District 1. With respect to agricultural preservation itself, since we took office in December, the county has settled 107 new acres of agriculturally preserved land in District 1, and currently there are more than 1,600 acres that are in process in District 1 that we're hoping to settle within the next year or so. Increasing the total amount of agricultural preservation towards the county's 100,000 acre goal has also been proceeding, and we are just shy of 78,000 acres at this point. Now, if you'll turn the sheet over, I'll quickly run through all of these items as well. And if you have any questions about these when we get to opening the floor, feel free to ask those. We have several members of directors and departments in the back who are also willing to help answer these questions. And there are certain things in here that also fall under the purview of the sheriff and the state's attorney, so I'll only briefly touch on those and let them speak far more capably and eloquently on those than I can. So one of the first interesting things is that with the budget that we're facing this year, there are a lot of unexpected challenges and obstacles that we're going to have to confront, but that's all right because we're up to the task. One of the very first things we did was to adopt a supermajority resolution to strengthen taxpayer protection. So previously, you would have to have a supermajority vote of 4 out of the 5 commissioners to raise taxes, but you did not need a supermajority of votes to repeal that in order to raise taxes. So what we did was we enacted a resolution which now requires a 4/5 supermajority to remove that. So there are now 2 layers of protection to prevent taxes from being raised. Probably the biggest thing that we've tackled since being in office is to have approved a 6-month moratorium on solar developments in agriculturally zoned land. So where we are with that right now is that we're going to start from scratch and we're going to build from the ground up to make sure that this amendment is all-encompassing and it's done in a way that is consistent with the times and the information that we have. I know a lot of people have asked me, well, why didn't the previous board or why didn't previous members of county staff enact this in a better way? But the reality was they did the best that they could. One of the things that our board decided we were going to do is we were not going to blame people in the past for anything that we did or did not agree with. I am of the opinion that people who came before us did the absolute best they could with the best information that they had. And so when I talk about things that we're doing differently now, it's not to demean or dismiss anybody, because again, they really did do a good job in previous boards and with previous members. And we, again, we're not taking the position that they did wrong. We're trying to do things differently. So again, that's not to discredit or to demean anybody at all. So please don't anybody take that way. One of the things that we've been doing as well is to continue to improve relationships with the municipalities. At the beginning of this, I had mentioned some of the things that we've been able to take care of for Taneytown, New Windsor, and for Union Bridge, and we're going to continue to do those kinds of things, to continue to grow our relationships with our municipalities because we really are partner agencies we're partner organizations with our municipalities. Our mayors and our councils do wonderful jobs, and there are a large number of things that we partner with that we work together on. The case in point being tonight with Taneytown, because we're in Taneytown, the Taneytown bypass being back on the priority letter for the first time in a decade. So one of the things that we've been doing is trying to participate in as many Maryland Municipal League chapter dinners as possible, because by attending those, we get a better sense of the municipalities and the things that they're facing and the things that they're doing. And in addition to that, making sure that we keep open lines of communications with our mayors and our councils. Now, one of the things that we've also done, and I will leave this up to the sheriff to go more in depth about this, is that we've introduced the proposal of a nuisance business ordinance. There are a number of businesses in the county that repeatedly take up the vast majority of the law enforcement time, and we want to make sure to address those. Because it's not fair that the sheriff's department is having to deal with certain businesses again and again and again. We are currently receiving weekly legislative updates from a liaison to Annapolis to keep on top of bills and other areas that we can work together with our delegation and our senators. Again, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, cooperating with our municipalities. Only by working together effectively with our municipal leaders and our state elected officials are we going to be able to adequately address the concerns of the constituents of our county. One of the things that I did, which was really important, was to participate in the point-in-time homelessness count in January. It's interesting because, you know, when you're driving to and from work or just going around any one of our towns or even through the county, you don't recognize that, you know, we do have homeless. The individuals that I helped to identify on the day of the homelessness count were over behind Kenny's in the woods. And they, you know, a number of these people wanted to be there because they wanted to be there, but the goal is to identify these homeless where they are and to offer them services if they so choose or if they need them. And that's incredibly important because, you know, when we talk about all of our citizens mattering, that includes those who do not have a place to live. So another thing that we did was to determine which commissioners were going to participate on which boards and committees. That's incredibly important because it's another way for the commissioners to be involved in local and extra county organizations so that we can understand not only what's going on with some of these organizations in our county, but beyond as well. And that's all about that cooperation and being able to work with other elected officials and other boards and members. One of the things that I've been doing, and I think is a really neat thing that we've done with our current Board of Commissioners, is that we are rotating members to the Board of Education. Every Board of Education meeting gets a member of the Board of Commissioners who attends, and that way we can partner with the Board of Education as well to better understand what they're doing, and then so each member of the Board of Commissioners has the opportunity to see firsthand what the Board of Education is doing and to see how well they do what they do. So, and I guess I can kind of skim through the rest of the list here. I don't want to get too involved, unless everybody wants me to continue going through the list. I can skim through the rest of it? No? All right. So the last thing then that I'll touch on here is that we've recently begun the fiscal year 24 budget process. And for the next month and a half or so, that's going to be taking up the vast majority of our time. And we're just starting to get into that, so if you have any questions or comments about that, we do have members of our staff here this evening who can better adequately answer those questions, not least of which because, again, we are just getting into the process. I'll do my best to answer those questions as well. Now, with respect to some future things that we're looking ahead to, of course, I had mentioned the solar moratorium earlier and proceeding with that. One of the things that we're going to be looking into is a review of the zoning to allow alcohol producers and sellers, such as a winery, to be able to prepare, serve, and sell food, and to make sure that is consistent with our state laws. That's been probably, outside of solar, that's probably been the thing that I've been contacted most about within this district. You know, there are a number of places in this district, in District 1 specifically, that want to be able to prepare and sell food. And so I think that's a great way to support local businesses as well as to support concerns of the community. One of the things that I'm going to be looking at in the very far future, probably not applicable to this budgeting cycle because we are trying to be very prudent with what we're looking at, is a municipal assistance fund. And this may be years off in the future. And the goal of this is to try to assist municipalities in ways that are not covered by currently standing agreements and arrangements that we have with them. For example, if there is a project that requires funding that they can't find anywhere else that we're able to help them out with, that is something that I do want to look into. Again, that's not going to be feasible probably this year, but it is a long-term goal that I do have. One of the other things that we know we're going to face serious challenges with is marijuana legalization. And so one of the things that we're already looking at are our zoning to try to find ways that we can strengthen our zoning to safeguard against the legalization when that does occur. And the last thing that I'll talk about, and something that I have brought with me from my time on the City Council in Taneytown, is facial recognition technology being used in commercial businesses. And for those of you who don't know that, these are systems that biometrically track your data and store your data, and they can sell it, they can use it in different ways, and including selling it to government entities. And so when I talk about facial recognition technology, and this will be an area where we would have to have our delegates and our senator on board, because we'll have to go through Annapolis to do this, is I'm interested in making sure that if a business uses facial recognition technology, and if your biometric data is being tracked and stored, that at minimum that store should let you know that your biometric data is being stored. And I'm not talking about just simple closed circuit surveillance systems. I'm talking about specific software that monitors and tracks your facial recognition. And so with that, I've gone through the list. And I will, at this point, ask Sheriff Jim DeWeese to come up to talk for as long as he'd like to. And so our sheriff has capably served our county for years now, and I'm very grateful that he's taken time out of his schedule to come and speak to everybody tonight. So thank you, Sheriff DeWeese, for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Am I on? Chris, am I good? So Joe says that I speak eloquently. I can't even spell eloquently. But thank you. So just a real quick, I know a lot of people in here, I know most of you, just a real quick bio of me. I'm a retired captain with Maryland State Police, spent 25 years there. Wife, 3 kids, Carroll County public educated. And I'm in my 3rd term here as the sheriff of Carroll County, and it's been a wonderful almost 9 years, and so at the end of my 3rd term it'll be 12 years. And I have some staff here. Colonel Rich Hart's here. He's my undersheriff. Captain Mark DeBoard. We call him the Junction Captain. He is the patrol captain. Everything goes to Mark DeBoard. And then what most of you may not know is I also oversee the jail. So the detention center falls under my purview, and I appoint a warden for the jail, Colonel Denny Strine. He's been with the organization for a little over 20 years, and the jail runs extraordinarily well under his leadership. So I have a ton of statistics, and I have a lot of things that I would love to discuss with you. But if you haven't watched the news today, there was a shooting in Nashville at a small Christian school in Nashville Metro. I'm familiar with Nashville and Nashville Metro PD. It's a quality organization. I did some training with them back in 2012. If you can tell me what a school shooter looks like, then I'll give you $1 million, because this one defied all logic. And the reason I bring this up is because we have a pretty robust school resource program here in the county, and we target schools that we believe could have a high likelihood of an incident that takes place. We cover every high school, every middle school, and those middle school deputies span out and cover some of the elementary schools. But only by the grace of God will we be somewhere when an incident like that happens. In Nashville, the incident took place, and within 14 minutes, the Nashville Metro Police was there and eliminated the shooter. But beforehand, they were able to get a couple of 8-year-olds, a 9-year-old, and 3 adult, either teachers. I think one was a custodian, so was able to kill 6 people in that short of a period of time, and looked like they were ready to kill more had it not been for law enforcement that got on the scene, grouped up, went in, and eliminated the issue. And I would be naive if I told you that we're immune from that in Carroll County, because that's simply not the case. We do absolutely everything we can to train and think about these incidents, and at the end of each day we pray to God and thank God that one didn't happen at our schools. And you all know that just a few weeks ago we had an incident just outside of Northwest Middle. Initially it sounded like it was at the middle school, but it was obviously it wasn't. It was through the alley to the rear of East Baltimore, but it easily could have ended up at Northwest Middle. It just so happens, ironically, I had worked with Colonel Hart, Lieutenant Lawrence, the staff with my staff, and Curtis Peterson over at the Board of Education and made sure that we decided we would move one of my school resource deputies from North Carroll Middle out permanently to Northwest, and he happened to be on the compound with the principal at dismissal when this took place and was the first person on the scene there. I listened to his radio transmissions. It was very confusing. Everybody could hear the shots go off. He got there quickly. They got there quickly, locked the school down. And I tell you, what tells me that we did the right things and followed procedures, not only my office, local police department, between the state police, Tawnytown PD, but specifically the Board of Education and the folks that were there at the school, is because I got not one email from a parent or a citizen saying, what the hell are you guys doing? And why didn't we know what was going on immediately? What happened to our kids? All the things that you would expect in a school incident like that. I got very little comments. And I was out there that Monday after the incident and for drop off and got to talk to an awful lot of parents and some folks. And all I heard was high praise for the administration there on how they handled that particular incident, including my deputy, Paul Cox. So I tell you that because the Nashville Police Department went in within 14 minutes, not with a SWAT team, not with all this armor and all the equipment you can think of. They went in with police officers that had responded, and they put their lives on the line and eliminated the issue. And there have been some issues around the country that you've seen where police officers didn't act appropriately. I feel very comfortable that my deputies, local law enforcement, state police, regardless, when we show up, if we find that there's an issue and we'll go in and eliminate that issue quickly. And I feel very comfortable that that's the case. That case obviously wasn't about the school, but it easily could have been. It's with Mr. Shoemaker's office now for prosecution. But I have high praise for how everybody responded to that particular incident. The commissioner alludes to a nuisance ordinance that we've been looking at. It has been something that we've started looking at language for. A number of jurisdictions do it, and it's for really businesses that are causing an awful lot of response by law enforcement. Just to give you an example, in the southern end of the county, between Walmart and Ulta, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, 55% of my calls in December were at either the Walmart or Ulta in Patrol 9, and Patrol 9 is about 42 square miles. Your town's a little over 3 square miles. So that's an awful lot of calls for service to those two establishments. And I'm sorry if you work at Ulta or Walmart. I hope I don't offend you, but I promise you, fight like hell to keep any of those two establishments from your area, because I promise you I could drop off a full casino with gaming tables and have less crime than is associated with a Walmart or an Ulta. And if you want to challenge me on that, see me afterwards. I promise you that's the case. And so it attracts an awful lot of shady stuff. Where they're situated, we deal with them. But this is in its infancy, the ordinances, and we still have a lot of work to do on it. My office works cooperatively with the police department here in Tawnytown, the state police, and any of the local jurisdictions. The commissioner covers a large area, not just Tawnytown. In my world, he covers patrols 1 and 6, which is about 80 square miles. So it spans all the way back over towards Silver Run, and it goes all the way down to the New Windsor area and back towards Westminster. So it's a big area that we cover. We depend on the local police out here to help us when there's an issue, and they depend on us when there's an issue in town to come and help them as well. So there's a lot of cooperation between the two organizations. Back in September, there was a hit and run fatal traffic crash on Trevanian Road. A lady that I know her family, was struck and killed while she was out jogging, walking, and the individual left the scene. Had it not been for the cooperation, not just with law enforcement, the state's attorney's office, but is there anybody here from Want Chevrolet? We were at Want Chevrolet within, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes with a piece of paint, a paint chip, And Wance was able to look at that paint chip and give us a really strong idea of what we were looking for car-wise, because we had nothing. And it just so happens they were open. They stopped what they were doing to help us, and we were able to take that brief description, get it out, and within a short period of time, and I think probably 12 or 13 hours, which in our world, when you have almost nothing to go off of, we had a car and we had an individual arrested in that case. And it doesn't stop, it just starts after we arrest someone. My office and Mr. Shoemaker's office are still working on that case today until we can get it to prosecution and have it adjudicated. So it was a strong effort. We took over the Tawnytown Police Department. They helped us with setting up a command post there. The state police brought in 13, 14 troopers. I had everybody that I could come out. And the glory about having, little to no crime in a county like this is that I can dump absolutely everything humanly possible into it to solve it. And I know I have some folks here from the Baltimore Police Department that are retired. They're some of the finest homicide investigators in the world, but they just simply are overwhelmed with the amount of homicides they have. They would solve probably all of them had they have enough personnel and resources to solve them. But they literally, if it's not a smoking gun, they can't solve them. For me, there's so few of those incidents that take place, I can absolutely make it a priority and dump all my resources into it for as long as I need to in order to solve it. And Kathleen Dinterman was that case. There's been several cases, and Mr. Shoemaker may highlight a number of them. He does when we go out and talk, that required exhaustive measures in order to solve. And then once they're solved, it's exhaustive just getting them to prosecution. So I think overall, my message to you is that we're not immune from having an incident that took place over by Northwest, but you have competent people that are responding to it, that are willing to give their lives to make sure that that children are protected and that you're protected. So for me, overall, it's just absolutely been the proudest 8 years of my career watching the men and women in this county and specifically in my office. And finally, I never go without mentioning the men and women in the detention center. You don't hear about it much, and that's the way it's supposed to be. If you hear about things in the detention center, then things are probably going wrong. They're truly unsung heroes within all of the criminal justice system. The work that they do is just absolutely remarkable, and I would invite anybody that's sitting in here or that's watching on TV, if you want to come in and walk around the detention center, I'm more than happy to give you a tour, or my staff will, so you can get a good idea of what's going on there. We do have murderers, we do have rapists, and we have some bad people in there. But I will tell you that of the 167 individuals that were in my jail this morning, 20 of them women, the rest men, that the overwhelming majority of them will be back out in our community, and the overwhelming majority have zip codes that are in Carroll County. So there is a culture of respect in the jail. We understand that the people that we're dealing with will likely be seen by us, or we will see them at the grocery store or out and about at a sporting event, and we get that. So we recognize that they make mistakes, and there's some people that make just such catastrophic mistakes that they leave there and go to a bigger facility for a longer period of time. You know, when I walk around the jail, and I do regularly, these folks know me by first name. They know my family. When my daughter was playing basketball in this county, they would regularly say, "Hey, Sheriff, I saw McKenzie had a nice game last night." I give them newspapers. I don't treat them like mushrooms. So I've got to make sure that there's a good culture in the jail, and I'm just so proud of the men and women that work in that facility. They do absolutely wonderful work. That's it for me. I don't know if you want to ask me questions or if you want to wait till the end, Commissioner, or
Why don't we wait till the end? That way I can get everybody.
do we have to hear from Haven?
Well, I mean, we could take a vote.
He tried to make a motion to adjourn, but I'm not sure where. Come on up, little buddy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our state's attorney, Haven Shoemaker.
Terry.
That wasn't very nice.
Oh, do you want to sit next to the Commissioner? Or?
Are you leaving? Or?
No, I'll stay up here with you.
We heard quite a bit from you, I tell you.
Somebody's
always,
got to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, exactly.
I see you got your-
It's always great to, is this thing working? Okay. Testing? All right, so it's always great to be in Tawnytown. Tawnytown's always had a special place in my heart, I gotta say. And I think that was buttressed by the results I got up here during the primary last year. You all came through for me, and I really appreciate that. You know, being the state's attorney, I've had that job not quite 90 days. I took office about a month after you did. So it's not quite 90 days, and I am truly blessed to have that job most days. I got to tell you, yeah, it is a great job. It's radically different, of course, than any other job I've had, either politically or in the legal realm. But it is a wonderful opportunity to give back to the people of Carroll County in this new capacity. And just an overview, I can tell you we have an office of about 52 when we're fully staffed. We're down 3 right now. You'll hear more about that tomorrow. We're down 3, but yeah, we have roughly 20 prosecutors and 32 support staff, and they are extremely committed and dedicated folks. And when I ran for this job, I mean, I said it everywhere I went, that I viewed the job of state's attorney as working hand in hand with our men and women of law enforcement that we have in this county to get the bad guys off the street. And that's pretty, I mean, it's very simple, but that's the job as I see it. And all those folks in that office, you know, they subscribe to that mission as well. And we work very hard in fulfilling that mission. I mean, last year, just a couple stats, last year I think we did in the neighborhood of 13,000 hearings. That's a lot. That's a lot of court appearances. And, you know, and we have a pretty high success rate. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's pretty high. And we couldn't do that job without the relationship that we have with law enforcement. And just to give you an example, I mean, the sheriff alluded to the Tawnytown shooting situation that happened on February 10th. So within less than 2 weeks, the next time the grand jury convened, we secured indictments for 2 individuals in connection with that. Both of them were charged with first-degree assault, and one of the individuals was charged with attempted murder. So that was on February 23rd. I think the next event to happen in that case is a status conference in front of Judge DiLeonardo on Wednesday. So that's my update on that. The other incident, of course, that the sheriff alluded to with regard to the hit and run on Trevanian, that's in the queue as well. So Adam Wells, who heads up our vehicular homicide unit, is a very capable prosecutor. That's his case. So I don't have any other developments to report on that. I don't know exactly when that's coming up for trial, but it'll be imminently, I hope. As lawyers know, though, cases get postponed on occasion, so that does happen. So just when further information is available, I'll share it with Commissioner Vigliotti. And speaking of Commissioner Vigliotti, yeah, I got to give him some kudos too, because I can tell you in my interactions with him, you folks here in Tawnytown have a lot to be proud of in Commissioner Vigliotti. He's extremely, well, he's bright. I mean, you could tell that by hearing him speak a while ago. He's very articulate, but he's also incredibly committed to you all, the citizens of District 1, and he's also committed to the notion of promoting public safety in this county. I've seen it firsthand. I'm sure that Commissioner Vigliotti subscribes to the notion that I did when I was a county commissioner, is that's job one. Public safety is job one when you're a county commissioner. You got to make sure the folks are safe. So we are, you all in particular, I live over in District 2. We got a great commissioner over there too. But you all are extremely fortunate to have a commissioner of Joe Vigliotti's caliber representing you. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, thank you very much, Haven. I will compliment both of these men up here and their departments. They do phenomenal work, and that whole emphasis on law and order, that whole ability to provide a safe community, not just here, but the entire county. If you look at the entire county as a community, we'd be lost without these guys. I mean, they are so dedicated to what they do, and they are so professional in how they conduct themselves. We really do stand out among the rest of the counties in the state because of these two guys, and I cannot thank them enough for what they and their staffs and their departments do. So, was there anything else you wanted to? Nope.
I'll get out of the way so Mr. Whistler can sit here.
There you go.
So now I'll call up our two school board members who are here tonight, Steve Whistler and Tyra Battaglia. Thank you both, gentlemen. I'll also point out that Tyra Battaglia is the Vice President of the Board of Education.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank the citizens of Tawnytown for allowing me to serve my second term on the Board of Education. The Board of Education, COVID was very difficult, and they came through. The board fought to make sure our kids got back into school, so we were one of the first counties in the state to implement that, to get them back in. So I'm very proud of the fact that we did that. So one thing I will address is, it's very heart-wrenching regarding the shooting that happened today in Nashville. And it kind of hits hard on me because I have an almost 9-year-old. And a lot of parents have contacted me recently regarding the security procedures we have on after-school activities, where doors are not to be propped open. They are also to be secured. If you leave the building, you should not be re-entering. And I want parents to understand something. That little bit of inconvenience is to protect our community and those using our schools. We make sure that our schools are protected during the day when our teachers and our kids and all the other staff are there. And on the weekends and after-school activities, the buildings need to be secured as well. So again, that little bit of inconvenience, I'm sorry, you want your door propped open, you don't want someone standing there to let everyone in. But that little bit of inconvenience is a huge piece of making sure our kids and our community is kept safe. I know another big part has been Blueprint. That's been one of the biggest discussions. I'm very proud of the fact that we are working with the county commissioners, keeping them up to date with everything that's happening there, the needs of the system. It is law. And with it being a state law, it is something the board is required to do. It's going to be a little difficult. The superintendent is doing another town hall next month at Winters Mill High School. So I do suggest people to go and listen to Superintendent Cindy McCabe, who I am very proud of the fact that I got to hire. Go and listen to the town hall and hear what she has to say regarding Blueprint and how it will affect our school system. It is very important, and everyone needs to understand what is going to be taking place. So that's all I have.
Great. Well, I have some good news for folks here in the Tawnytown area. I wanted to go over some of the capital improvement projects you're going to see in your schools here over the next couple of years. The Carroll County Career and Tech Center, which is, again, in Westminster, those renovations, I think, are expected to be finished in 2024. So those renovations are going forward, and of course, that facility is used by students all over the county. I think a couple of board meetings ago, we approved stage rigging replacement for Francis Scott Key, so that their folks in the drama department will have brand new stage rigging material to do what they need to do. Also, I think we will soon see an HVAC replacement for Northwest Middle School. And I think in the out years, probably not this next school year, but maybe after that, we're talking about a kindergarten addition approved for Tawnytown Elementary, as well as an HVAC replacement for Tawnytown Elementary in fiscal year 25. So those are some of the good news that you're going to see some of your, some investments going on in the schools in this region. I will comment also about the security issues on the 10th. Again, we do, I being a brand new board member, I was very, very interested in learning what that security process is. There is a command center there, a central office that was manned on February 10th. The superintendent and our security officer were in there. They were interacting with school leadership and Principal Lavender, and everything went as it should have. And the interaction with local law enforcement. So, again, we're just thankful that it happened off school property. And again, I appreciate the efforts of everyone involved. I've since visited the school. I visited Northwest Middle twice myself over the last month or so, and just went to a PTA meeting, and then I also met with the principal. But the staff and the students there seem like they're in good spirits. Learning is going on, and things are getting back to normal there. So we were all, at least I was very concerned about the impact on our students and our staff, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone there knows that we care about their safety. And again, with Blueprint, Blueprint is coming, and there's lots of mandates associated with it, a lot of great things that are going to come our way. But all great things are not free. It's very, very expensive. And so we appreciate the commissioners, at least I do, helping us out. They're giving us everything we need. With us being the 11th largest school system in Maryland, we have probably the least, I think we're second to last in diversity in the county. Blueprint's funding is mainly structured on a few things. One is our wealth index, which we fall about 10th or 11th out of the 24 jurisdictions. And then a lot of the funding depends upon demographics of our learners. We rank last, 24 out of 24, in students on free and reduced meals out of the state. We rank 21st out of 24 with English language learners. And we rank 9th out of the 24 jurisdictions in the state for those that require special services. And a lot of the Blueprint funding is structured on those three key demographic areas. And then when you combine that with our wealth index, we're like 10th or 11th out of the 24 jurisdictions. Our county commissioners are forced to fund 60% of the Blueprint mandates, while the state only ponies up 40%. So you're going to hear a lot of talk of teachers perhaps needing moved, because 80% of our salaries are wrapped up into, 80% of our budget is wrapped up into teacher salaries. So, so that's something that we're just trying to socialize with everybody here. But folks here in the Tawnytown region, some of the models that I saw suggested we might see as many as 12 teachers move to Tawnytown Elementary, an additional 12 teachers, an additional 7 teachers at Northwest Middle, and then another 12 teachers at FSK. So while some areas of the county are complaining about Blueprint, this area of the county will benefit from Blueprint. And so I really encourage you to attend our superintendent's Blueprint town hall on April 19th at Winters Mill Middle. You're going to learn a lot. There are a lot of good things in Blueprint that we can take advantage of. But again, we just have to work our way forward and figure out how we're going to pay for it. But
I think you meant Winters Mill High School.
yeah, Winters Mill High School. Did I say middle? Yeah, Winters Mill High School in the media center. But again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. I'm just amazed at our teachers, I'm amazed at our students. I've been in probably, out of our 44 schools, I think I've visited 10 or 12 since being elected over these last 100 days. And we truly have a remarkable school system. We have great parents. And I really encourage you to get involved and stay connected with your schools. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you both. And I will compliment both Tyra and Steve and the entire Board of Education. They are wonderful human beings, and they really do take education very seriously. And the other really nice thing about this is, I mentioned earlier the importance of cooperation and communication with local elected officials, with the state delegates, with the state senators, with our sheriff, with our state's attorney, with our municipal elected officials, but also with our Board of Education. That's incredibly important too. The argument that I've always made is that there really is no hierarchy, there's no ranking of elected officials. Everybody has a kind of co-equal role. You may have different constituencies and different areas of authority and different areas of service, but ultimately everything in the end overlaps with each other. Everybody's working towards the same ends. And so I'm very grateful in that spirit of communication that Steve and Tyra, as well as the other members of the board, are all frequently in touch with me. And that idea of communication, that process of communication is incredibly important. And that's one of the reasons why I invited both of them here tonight, as well as our sheriff and our state's attorney, not just to be able to adequately answer questions, but because at the end, everything is ultimately interconnected. And so I thank both of you very much for being here as well tonight.
Oh, believe me, I pick up the phone anytime I have a question and I'm like, oh, what's going on?
I would not expect anything else.
And I did want to say too, the letter that was sent from both boards in opposition.
Oh, do you want to talk about
In
that?
opposition of House Bill 119. That bill was to remove local authority from the Board of Education, where the state could come in and oversee, and also potential parents' rights. As a parent of 3 kids, I can tell you, I have huge problems with that. I raise my children. I don't want somebody coming in and telling me how my kids should be raised or what they feel they should be taught. No, that's my child. If I feel something isn't appropriate for them to learn, I have a right to say that. I don't let them watch certain things at home. I don't allow them to listen to certain music, and I certainly don't let them just watch whatever TV show or movie they want. I have a say, and the same goes for our education system. So I'm very glad that the collaboration we had to send that down to Annapolis, we're not happy about this. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate you guys and what you do.
Yeah, and if folks need to know, House Bill 119 and Senate Bill 199 essentially mandated that counties teach the controversial health framework that me personally, I find a little disturbing to introduce to very young children. So, I'm on the legislative committee for the Maryland Association of Boards of Education, and working very, very aggressively, working with legislators down there in Annapolis. And I will tell you, I'm very encouraged by things I heard today at a key meeting that I attended. And it looks like that bill will die in the Triple E committee in the Senate, which is good news. But I think there is a hearing scheduled this week, so it's still really important that you let legislators in Annapolis know that we need to maintain local control of Board of Education issues. A one-size-fits-all is not good for all counties. We have our own unique county, our own unique needs. We have Carroll County values that we want to preserve in our schools, and we don't need folks in Annapolis telling us how to do it. So, again, thank you, Commissioner, for your support.
Thank you both very much as well. Mr. Mayor, is there anything that you'd like to say this evening?
If I may.
Yeah, please. Oh, and the members of the Union Bridge Town Council send their regrets. They're having their meeting tonight. Otherwise, they'd... Mayor, you're more than welcome to sit up here if you'd like.
I'll do it from here.
Okay.
It's a little comfy up there. I don't want to disturb you. Are we on here? Okay, great. Commissioner, thank you so much for holding your first town hall right here in Tawnytown. I know we have a special place in your heart, and you have a special place in my heart for the service you've done for this community. You know more than most the efforts we put into getting our bypass back into the plan, and I appreciate greatly that you tackled that first thing as soon as you got in. So you made tremendous strides in what we've been trying to do for a number of years now. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
I do want to speak also to the sheriff and the state's attorney. Your efforts regarding the incidents of February 10th, on behalf of the city council and the police department, thank you so much for everything you've done for us. We always look forward to partnering with your agency. I'm looking forward to more partnership with you in the very near future. Tawnytown is an amazing community. This city has grown by leaps and bounds, not just in size, but also in progress. And I want to thank the county for what they do to support us. I do want to keep in mind with you, when you talk about the legalization of marijuana, to be considerate of overlays that you know we have in place here in Tawnytown as well. We have our own cannabis dispensary overlay that limits where cannabis can be dispensed. I just want that to kind of be in the forefront of your mind, that nothing comes through. We've already talked to the state about not having anything that preempts our existing code. And I just ask that the county respect that as well, as I'm sure you will. Municipalities and counties are equal governments. And as you know, MML and MACO, I serve on the legislative committee of MML. They work very close together, supporting and being against the same bills. So I appreciate that. I do want to ask you and the commissioners, if you will, to voice your support to the state. Senate Bill 114, which is regarding notification of tax increases. I want you to please voice your support for that. It has crossed over into the House. The Senate passed it unanimously. I believe it's in the House Ways and Means Committee at this point. So asking for your support on that. And I believe the last thing I want to share with you is I was excited to announce today, and I wanted to invite you and all the commissioners. Let me pull up all the information here if I could. Our April Tawnytown Business Breakfast will be featuring Maryland Secretary of Commerce Kevin Anderson. This month it will be taking place at Venue Bouchon. We're expecting a larger audience, so we're doing it at a different location. Doors will open at 7 a.m., breakfast buffet 7:30, and Secretary Anderson will be at 8 a.m. And of course, you and the other commissioners will be complimentary to that activity. Just want to put that on your radar, and I hope to see all of you there to see the Secretary. With that, thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for all of your service to the city of Tawnytown. I know you take the job seriously, and I know you do a good job at that. And my one question for you about the business breakfast, who's doing the bacon?
Country Cafe will be catering this business breakfast, and I think you'll be very pleased with their offerings.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll open it up to the floor. I ask again, you do not have to be from District 1 to speak, but please let us know who you are and where you live. You can ask questions, you can make a comment, you can talk about, really whatever you want. Just bear in mind that there are a number of people here tonight, so I ask that you don't go on for too long. So, sir?
So I want to jump at the microphone just for a quick second because I'm going to run off to the Planning Commission meeting here in just a few minutes. But I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for holding your first town hall here in Tawnytown. And I wanted to thank you and the other commissioners for your support of the bypass and the vote that was taken at the meeting a couple weeks ago. It really it means a lot to us to know that you guys are behind us in this. This has been on the state agenda. This was on the state agenda from 1964 all the way through to about 10 years ago, and when it mysteriously disappeared. And they seem to be hanging their hat on a lot of numbers. Oh, well, it doesn't really need to, but the numbers don't speak to the issues of the safety and the quality of life and the preservation of the historic buildings here in Tawnytown. And that's what really needs to be spoken to, and I appreciate the commissioners doing what they're doing with that. One other thing I wanted to mention really quickly, you talked about the Northwest Regional Park. That's going to be kind of alongside the railhead at the end of the defunct Western Maryland Railway line that goes, as many of you know, the line stops at Angel Road. It goes through town, and that line stops at Angel Road at the propane plant. And then I know that there was talk about making a linear park running down and like a rail trail down that rail line. I'd love to see that. And with that, a continuation, perhaps on the state highway right away of 194 all the way into town so that it can connect Bollinger Park and the downtown to this park in a way that is not vehicle related. So with that, the other thing I want to mention is that there is a candidates forum for the candidates that are running for mayor and council here in Tawnytown. That is on Wednesday the 12th at the Activities Building at 6:30 p.m. So with that, I am going to jump off the microphone and head to the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It doesn't have to be a question. You can talk about an event going on. Totally up to you.
Hi, my name is Beverly Massacott. I live on Ripple Road, which is off of Harton. Now, my question is, and I emailed you about this. This is our senior center, and back here is that room that's unfinished. It's very large. It needs to be reorganized and whatever and made into a classroom. I attend a stained glass class here, and every class, which is once a week, we have to bring out 8 tables, all kinds of carts and things with our supplies and equipment, and then we have to pack it all up after class. Where if we had a classroom, we could just leave it out and lock the door and we'd be good to go.
Well, I thank you very much for the email that you sent me. I'm in the process of gathering some information, so that's why I have not yet responded to you, and I apologize for that. But I will certainly take this suggestion and continue to pass that along.
Yeah, but I know that the maintenance has some supplies and things, so it just has to be reorganized, but I'm sure that a classroom could be made.
I very much appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anything else, sir? Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner, I just want to say again, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure Jack feels the same way, and there's a few other people that are in this room, that we cannot tell you how much we really appreciate the 6-month moratorium that was put forth for the solar investigation. I'm going to call it investigations because that's exactly what it is. And we hope that that the people that are in charge of that committee bring forth all of the information. And I asked again the other day to make sure that it was going to be made public, that we would be able to view it, or we would get some kind of notes from it. And I just want to reiterate how important it is for certain people to sit on that task force, as you call it. I've sent in a couple suggestions to Mr. Heim. He did respond that he did receive them. But I feel that it's extremely important that people who live in the area are on that committee, and how it's going to affect them. You brought up, I cannot tell you, if you did not see it, this man, he should have got a Pulitzer Prize for writing. His speech was amazing, and I believe it was 19 points that you brought up, right on the head, right on the head. So again, I just want to thank you for standing up and putting your feet down for the people that live in this community. We thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I very much appreciate that.
Well, I'll try to wing it. My name is Mark Hamilton. I reside 981 Fannie Dorsey Road, Sykesville, Maryland, in District 4. So this is not my district, but
Well, welcome anyways.
I wanted to come out here tonight and support Joe for all he's done in the short amount of time he's been in office. And he's done a lot. Myself, I'm a 38-year resident of the county. Sheriff DeWeese, he'll swear that I'm not. He thinks I rolled in on a boxcar down there in Woodbine, and right from the Bronx with a New York accent. But it's been a pleasure knowing you for the last couple of months, and the other newer commissioners that came in the past. Actually, I worked in county government for 40 years, not this county, and I retired from that. And it left a real bad taste in my mouth working where I worked. I won't mention the county, but that might stop my retirement. But I didn't want any more part of government after I got out of government, and even the last 15 years, 8 years now, I've been retired. I didn't want any part of government until this year. I have never met a commissioner before this year. I've never gone to any meetings or anything like that. And just having you in office and your other commissioners, it's really changed me. It's changed me a lot. And it's changed me for the better. In my opinion of government and working with government and seeing what goes on in government, being in Carroll County. So it's really been a refreshing experience to me. And I really appreciate what you've done and what you're doing for me in some other situations. But, with reviewing the solar ordinance and different things, and it's really given me a lot of confidence in you and the other commissioners. So I just want to let everybody know, you're in this district, you've got the best commissioner. You really do, and I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words. And I will say that all 4 gentlemen that I'm serving with on the Board of Commissioners are as dedicated and passionate about the work that they do. Again, I keep going back to this idea of these relationships that we have with other elected officials and other leaders, and that's so incredibly important. Talking about something that the last speaker said, when you email a member of any department in the county government, whether it's from the county administrator to department head to anybody, even in the billing departments, right? They are proficient and they are kind and they are capable, and if there's an issue, they send it up the chain. Comments that you had made about who should serve on what committee have gotten back to us through those departmental directors, and I cannot emphasize enough. Please do not hesitate to contact any one of us. The more that we learn from you, the more that we understand where you are, the more effective we are at what we do. I've said this all the time. I say this all the time. I said this all the years that I served on city council in Taneytown. I know enough to know that I don't know everything. And I can only be as effective as I am because people teach me things, because I'm willing to learn and to understand. And I can't do that without you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Joe. My name's Larry Shockney. I live on Reinhardt Road, 21158. I came to meet you tonight. I have to agree with the state's attorney. You're a very bright young man with a bright future. We've discussed my roadway of putting 2 4-way stops, because I know the sheriff doesn't have enough men to work radar throughout this county. But it's become a racetrack, mainly for the Pennsylvania residents and their shortcut. I've had them go off the road, I've had them go on the lawns, and it's just, on Sundays, I got guys in muscle cars doing fishtails. So it's become a real hassle. And I saw a school bus almost get struck, where he was coming around the curve so fast, he had to go across the double yellow and get around the bus because he couldn't stop. Your road crew, I can't commend them enough. They've cleared the brush, but it's just such a sharp curve. And the other intersection is just a straight hill run. They get up to 60, 70 miles an hour. So I hope you take that in consideration, have them reevaluated. The other issue I wanted to bring up, and we discussed briefly in emails, I'm a granddad. I'm like the lady from the Board of Ed. I want to raise our kids the way we want to raise them. I understand we're in this woke society, and I understand businesses and firehouse can't deny access to their facilities. But when I see an ad for transgender shows, and they're encouraging you to bring kids, but they're serving alcohol too, that should be stopped. Now, I noticed the last one for this coming month, they had Manchester Valley Fire Department. They've put a note now that you must be 21, which you want to go watch that, that's fine. But I don't think kids need to be pushed into this.
I agree with you completely on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if I may, so Mr. Shockey lives over on Backwoods?
Reinhardt.
Reinhardt.
Sheriff, if you want to come up to the, so everybody can hear.
What he's talking about is and I think I sent you an email, people coming from, I guess, East Deep Run from Old Hanover that are coming down Deep Run, and there's an intersection of Reinhardt, Van Hall Hill, and then past that going towards Wine Road. It's a long straightaway. So we do sit, there's a cutout there, we do sit there regularly, and we'll get speeds of 70, 80 miles an hour coming through there. It's a 35 mile an hour zone, so we work it pretty hard. And then crossing over Deep Run, if you're coming from the south, crossing over Deep Run to go up Van Hall Hill,
Right.
looking to the left is where he's talking about. And the roads crew they do a wonderful job up there trying, but it's one of them where the hill literally needs to be completely cut out in order to have any sight distance. You're just kind of playing chicken,
Yeah.
getting across the road.
And
So-
the stop signs would also be a help.
Yeah, it'd be tough. I've talked to Chris McDonald about it. It'd be tough because of the sight distance. It's more of a construction issue there and carving out that hill. So I sent you an email on it, I think just the other day. So we haven't gone over it, but Chris and I talk regularly about that particular intersection. And then the shows that he's talking about, the reason they put you have to be 21 on it is because of us and our communications with the organizers of those shows.
Good.
I can't stop them, but when you're advertising children at those events, I
Yeah, the
agree.
one at the Comfort Inn.
Yeah, that was one that kind of was, that was kind of stirred up an awful lot, and we communicated with the organizer of that, and I don't think you'll see that anymore, so it's a shame on them for doing that.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Thank
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
My name is Greg Fullerton. I live on Pleasant Valley Road. I've lived there for almost 20 years. My kids have gone to school here in Tawnytown. I've coached multiple ball games and baseball teams in Tawnytown. Love this place. We have Westminster Island Green on South Pleasant Valley Road. It's been an ongoing situation. I talked to the commissioners a couple of years ago about it, and it is quickly rolling to insanity. It's outrageously loud. It's so loud that it sounds like the bass. People are knocking on your front door if you're one of the close by residents. There's probably been, I've been trying to keep a count, I'd say 4 to 6 people that have literally sold their houses and left that are this close. I've talked to Sheriff DeWeese about it before.
I've never met this guy before in my life.
Yeah. Our boys played baseball together, so I know him well. And I guess at this point, I really don't know what to do. 2 years ago, when I talked to the commissioners, it was when you guys were, and I know you weren't involved at that time, but they were redoing the noise ordinance. But nothing has changed. It's actually gotten, they have Lee Greenwood scheduled for this summer. And if you guys know Lee Greenwood, I mean, there's going to be tour buses at Westminster Island Green. It's a stop sign. There's no stoplight. It's utter chaos when this place lets out. And everybody there is drinking. I mean, drinking heavily. They got their liquor license in 2018, and I'll do a rough quote from the county. They basically said it wasn't going to be a bar. It's 100% a bar. If you go in there, it's a bar/sports bar, and I'm sure many people here have probably been there. It's also supposed to be a snack shack, and it's operating in a restaurant. It's utter anarchy at this place right now. And as somebody that, I basically built my dream home there, I have so much money invested and tied up on that road. And one of my friends is one of the people who left. And I thought, man, I really don't want to sell my house and leave just because these people are simply doing anything they want to do. And it just blows my mind. It's an agricultural property. It's not commercial. It's not industrial. It's agricultural. Never in a million years did I think I'd live beside Balger's Orchard and hear concerts rock out of my house every single weekend from May to October. It's just bizarre and mind-blowing. I just, going back to like the shows the gentleman was just talking about, I don't even know what world I'm living in at points. That's how frustrated this situation gets me. But I appreciate you listening to me tonight.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if I may, on that topic?
Oh, yeah, please, go ahead. Sheriff, you want to come sit up here?
No, I don't, yeah. He does have a beautiful home. He lives, I would say, less than a mile.
1 mile from the
So, yeah, we've been kind of trying to be the peacekeepers in that situation there. And that started after COVID. I think Island Green realized that they were losing money around COVID like every other business. And then before long, they got different permits and Guns N' Roses showed up, I think, in the summer of, I'm being facetious, I mean, it sounds like it, but it's really loud there. And so Captain DeBoard, he works with the owners of Island Green to try and mitigate all that, and it's difficult. I mean, so if you're over at the Ag Center or you're over at the Farm Museum, you understand that there are going to be events that take place there, and the noise is going to be down for the most part. There's different events that take place there, but you understand what you're moving next to, and I don't think the folks on Pleasant Valley Road realized that was going to take place in their backyard, and we do our best to try and work with them. I don't want to arrest anybody at Island Green for noise violations, nor does the community want me to do that. I think they just want the noise to slow down. So in the very near future, next couple of weeks, we'll come over and try and brief you a little bit more on that, and I think it's more of really a permitting issue more than it is we got to go in and shut stuff down. It's really blown up, and I don't know what Lee Greenwood's going to do, sing the same song 12 times, because I don't know what else he sings. So, but I'm sure
He does a really good rendition of the Star Spangled Banner.
I'm sure. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. But he's going to draw a huge crowd, and there's a Jehovah's Witness church right next to it, and I'm sure they are seeing dollar signs and going to allow a number of people to park there, because I don't know where you're going to park anybody. And then that intersection at South Pleasant Valley, it is very difficult at best to come out, make a left, and go back towards Westminster. So you're right, it is a very difficult situation. So it's something I think we need to look a little closer at and tackle.
Well, I look forward to meeting with you about that, Sheriff. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rhonda. I live on Carnival Drive. So you had mentioned the homeless behind Kenny's. I mean, have you actually had conversations with them, or?
Yes.
Okay, so you have had conversations. I mean, are they planning on leaving, especially when they tear down the woods for the hardware store?
Well, I'm not sure that they're aware of anything being constructed in town. But the day that we went out there to meet and identify these individuals, we did offer them services, we did offer them places to go. And what you find with a lot of them who are homeless is that they choose to be that way.
Right.
For example, one of the individuals that we spoke with had family, and this is just where he wanted to be. Back in about 2013, 2014, right after I got elected to the city council in Taneytown, there were 2 or 3 large homeless encampments on the outskirts of town, and going again to try to alleviate the situation, thinking that the economy's difficult, these people have no other recourse. You find again and again they want to live this way. There are some people who genuinely do need the help, and they want to they want to accept the services and the help. But most of them just live that way because they want to be left alone. It's the decision that they've made. It's the choices that they've pursued, and it just happens to be the area where they've settled down.
Okay, so if the city does decide on this hardware project, that they're tearing all the woods down, and, I mean, they'll be forced to move, right? Because, I know some of them, they're always towards the back of my home, going through the wood lines and things like that. So, are you guys gonna go back out there, try to talk to them, help them, further try to move out, or?
Well, I would imagine that would be a great opportunity for the county and the city to coordinate on, because, again, the county coordinates the point-in-time homelessness count, and Mayor Wance has always been very sympathetic to those who are in need in the community. And he would be a phenomenal person to talk to specifically about that. And, of course, the county will assist in any way that we can from our end.
Okay, and the noise, I know in the Taneytown Comprehensive manual that you guys did quite some time back, it says that for the bypass, that you're going to do something about the noise and the pollution and things like that from the bypass, since it's right on the main strip for Carnival.
Yeah, please.
So when you say right on the main strip from Carnival, are you talking Antrim Boulevard?
Yes.
Okay, because Antrim Boulevard was the first part of the bypass that was built before the state abandoned it. When a road like this is constructed, between the county, the state, MDE, State Highway, all of those, we work together to mitigate any issues it's going to have with surrounding communities. Okay. So with even the proposed commercial use there for the hardware store, there would be screening required between that and Carnival Drive as well. And the same would exist for if Antrim Boulevard did lead into the further bypass. But yeah, all those things are taken into account. I mean, Carnival Drive's been there for so long, we're not gonna do anything to drive that out of the city, no, not at all.
Okay, so are you still planning on cutting the roads through Antrim into Carnival?
That's never been a plan.
Okay.
It's not on any plans right now.
What was on the plans in the last meeting for the,
The ones on my desk don't show that.
okay.
Right. But no, right now, there are no plans to join Antrim Boulevard with Carnival Drive at all. So
Okay.
there's a stub out of Carnival Drive that many years ago, a developer, when they initially built it, they wanted to build more houses behind it. They abandoned that, and that stub out is going to be there in perpetuity.
Okay.
Yep, the city has no plans at all to join those. We don't need more traffic on Carnival Drive, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I absolutely appreciate
Yep.
that.
Anything else?
No, I mean, I am concerned with the hardware store since it's right in my backyard.
I understand.
I mean, it's like
Right.
literally, as I seen the plans, it's right up against my fence. I mean, it's, you know, the noise and the construction and it's just all the hassle that's gonna be there.
Right.
So, I mean, that's gonna be a big part of the noise too, and especially bringing more traffic down through, you know, the bypass and adding and building more onto Antrim is gonna be a big problem on Carnival Drive with all that noise, cause that's my dream home. That's where I built my home, you know,
Right.
that's where we
Absolutely.
moved to.
And we're going to work with the neighbors to do the best we can. And of course, we work with the county with their inspectors and permitting offices to make sure whatever does happen there works best for the community and those directly around it.
Right, because
Okay.
I mean, I also have a big problem is because half of us here on Carnival, we homeschool.
Right.
So them hours, you know, that they're planning on doing all that construction, that's during our homeschool hours, which is a big inconvenience.
Right. Understood. So in those conversations, we're going to continue having as we look forward to this. I mean, right now, that's coming up, I think, with Planning Commission as we speak, I'm sure. So they're having
You know
fun
when
with it
that
as well.
next meeting would be?
Planning Commission's happening right now.
Okay.
And then we'll see if it returns to their agenda next month.
Okay,
But it has not even come to the council yet.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. I'm here as a constituent that lives off of Pinch Valley Road. My question is, since the commissioners have voted to close the road, and there is currently road counters, which I am very appreciative of, so you can see how much traffic is on this road, is there any discussion on having a town hall to update the citizens of Pleasant Valley, Hughes Shop, Pinch Valley, Woods Road regarding what the aviation expansion will look like and the noise that it could potentially cause the homeowners on Meadow Branch and all the other adjacent roads to it?
I may be wrong. I'm unaware that there is anything at this particular point, but I'm happy to take along that suggestion and see if we can organize something.
I think communication to those communities would be very appreciative, and they need to have an understanding of what it's going to look like. Because many are very confused as to what types of aviation could be potentially coming into the area.
Well, thank you very much for that suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
So, Joe, basically what I want to say is just make a comment. Terry and I are new to Tawnytown. We've been up here 5 years, I guess, and been in Carroll County all our adult lives. And I consider myself a great American. I love this country. I love our Constitution. I love our freedom. And I tell you, this is like a breath of fresh air. The administration that we have in this county, the political structure, the sheriff's department, Haven. I mean, I don't know how you are, but I almost can't stand to watch the news anymore. I mean, I have the pleasure of working in Baltimore City right now on the east side, and it's a war zone. There's no political care. Baltimore County's having trouble. The whole country's having trouble. And I tell you, this Carroll County's a great place, man. We got some great people. We got some great people up here. And these guys don't grow on trees. These
I
are
know this guy and I like him.
these are I mean, and the commissioners, I mean, I tell you, I encourage everybody that's here and that's watching or whatever, to get involved in the government, and we are very thankful to have what we have. When you look around the world and look around this country, this is a great county.
We definitely are, and grateful for the citizens that we have.
So don't screw it up.
I'll do my best.
And I'm sorry that there are certain problems and issues, there are, but, you know, it's not nirvana, but it's pretty damn close.
But that cooperation between citizens, between different elected officials from different
Yeah, they're
areas.
trying to work it out.
Exactly, exactly. Anything else? Oh, please.
Hi, Erin Sipes, lifelong Carroll County resident, got my kids in school here. About the Pinch Valley thing, I work at the post office. I don't do her route like I used to. How's that gonna affect the post office? You gotta take that into consideration too, because obviously mailboxes on that street, so you gotta take that into consideration also. And your predecessor had a Silver Run Union Mills council beforehand. Are you still gonna have that in place?
I'm sorry, what?
He had a Silver Run Union Mills council in place, which we mainly talk about the community center. Are you still gonna have that in place?
If you'd like me to continue it, I can look into that.
Okay, because I think we talked about, because he said he would like his successor to continue it. But I don't know if he ever talked to you about that he had it before, or anything like that.
Oh, it may be well that I've forgotten. Maybe that he did tell me at some point in the past, but I'm not remembering it. But I'm happy to have any conversations that you'd like to have.
Okay, I can forward you the emails if you want.
Oh, sure, please. Thank you very much. That'd be fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, if everybody's good, I'll wrap things up here, first of all, by saying thank you from the bottom of my heart for everybody coming out this evening. Thank you to all of our special guests for being here as well. I just want to point out again very briefly that on the back table, if you haven't gotten copies of the accomplishments and issues and things outstanding for District 1 and the county at large, that's at the back table. For those of you who wanted to say something but not necessarily thrilled about speaking in public, we do have a sheet at the back that tells you how to get in touch with us in different ways as well. That's definitely worth picking up and holding on to. It has, in addition to my email address, the email addresses of all of my fellow commissioners. For those of you who are very interested in how the Department of Fire and EMS is unfolding, Chief Director Michael Robinson, who was unable to attend this evening, sent along a handout about that as well. The Bureau of Aging and Disabilities has a resource guide in the back that's definitely worth checking out as well. And for those of you who are looking for something fun to do on Sunday, May 7th from noon to 4, Carroll County is having our second annual Veteran Celebration. You don't have to be a veteran to show up, but you're more than welcome to show up. It's free parking, free admission. I attended last year. It was a phenomenal event, a phenomenal way to say thank you to the veterans in our county and to celebrate their service. As I'd mentioned earlier, please do not hesitate to be in touch with me or any member of our elected community. I really did mean it when I said that I know enough to know that I do not know everything, and I can only be as effective as people are willing to communicate with me. So I thank all of you who have reached out to me, and I look forward to more conversations in the future. I look forward to more town halls in the future. I pray that God blesses every single one of you in every single possible way. Thank you. Have a good night.